You're listening to the Chopped Podcast, episode number 19. Bring it on. Hey everyone, I'm Marley of the blog Namely Marley. Thanks for joining me today for the 19th episode of the Chopped Podcast. This is the podcast designed for people just like you, bloggers who love food. Each week I'm sharing interviews, thoughts, and stories, everything related to food blogging, so we can all learn together about what works with food blogging and a little bit about what doesn't. Today's guest is Davida Kugelmass of the blog The Healthy Maven. Davida and I are talking about Snapchat today. It's a hot topic, and everybody's talking about it as the next up-and-coming social media platform. So the question is, should you be on it? And why? Can you even handle one more thing on your social media plate? Davida has an answer for you, and it's yes. But there's a really important reason why, and it has to do with something I think it's like an outcome I didn't expect. It's authenticity. Isn't that interesting? Well, listen to the interview to learn more about how Davida uses Snapchat and how she also uses it to cultivate authenticity with her readers. I think you're going to love it. Before we move on to that interview, today's show is sponsored by Best Food Facts. Do you ever find yourself wondering about the latest research topics on food? Maybe everyone's talking about GMOs or gluten-free and you're just kind of curious to learn more. Or maybe you've got some basic questions like how long to cook certain foods. Best Food Facts connects you with information on all things food straight from university experts. Head over to bestfoodfacts.org to learn more. Let's go straight to that interview with Davida. Today's intro shout out is to Amy with Accidental Happy Baker. Amy says she was listening to the Chopped Podcast recently while cleaning. Amy, I'm thrilled that the Chopped Podcast can make even a job like cleaning a little more enjoyable. So what are you doing while listening to the Chopped Podcast? Send me a shout out on Twitter or Instagram using #ChoppedCon, and maybe I'll feature you and your site in an upcoming episode. But for today, in honor of Amy, everybody put on your shiny yellow gloves, grab your cleaning caddy, and don't forget your earbuds, and let's talk about all things food blogging and so much more. Hey everyone, I'm excited to have Davida Kugelmass of the site The Healthy Maven. Davida, welcome to the Chopped Podcast.
Thank you for having me.
I love your blog, and your photography is so amazing, and I'm really intrigued to talk with you about Snapchat, the new and upcoming social media site or platform that everybody's excited about. But first, let's take a step back and let's talk about The Healthy Maven. What caused you to get that site started?
Yeah, well, sometimes I just feel like I'm in this wind tunnel and being shot through it, and it's all kind of happening around me. But I started The Healthy Maven about 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago, purely as a passion project. I wasn't feeling very happy with my day job, and just at the end of the day, really wasn't feeling productive. Mm-hmm. That was something that I was missing in my life, and I wanted to feel that sense of productivity that blogging brings. I didn't realize at the time how much blogging was really going to add that to my life. But at the time, I just needed to focus my energy on something outside of work. And I had this huge passion for cooking and for wellness and health, which is really the focus of The Healthy Maven. So I just started it. I talked about starting a blog for a really long time, but just didn't have the courage to do it. And one day I was like, I had had a bad day at work and was feeling like I just needed something else in my life. So I bought the domain and just started blogging. Wow. So that was 2 years ago. And since then, The Healthy Maven has changed quite a bit. It was really focused on all areas of health and wellness when I started, mainly because I was really in my own journey of figuring out what health meant to me, and that changes and evolves and continues to change and evolve. But right now it's very much focused on cooking and recipe development for taking, those recipes that aren't always the most healthful and creating healthy twists on them. And that's where I'm at right now with The Healthy Maven.
That's exciting. It's such an inspirational story for people that are out there to know that you can go from theory to entrepreneur in 2 years. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, obviously a lot happened in between.
Yeah.
But it was actually, I have to say, it was a pretty quick process for me.
Yeah.
after only like 8 months was when I quit my job. And
Wow.
yeah, I mean, I think people think that that means that I was totally like on my own 2 feet running the blog full time after 8 months, but that wasn't the case at all.
I see. It was like a little bit of a leap.
Yeah, I totally took a risk. I mean, I think a lot of people thought I was crazy, but I was really unhappy. I was 24 years old and just not enjoying what I was doing with my life. And I just felt like if there's any time to take a crazy risk, now's the time. So I left my full-time job and I took on some part-time contract work with a healthy food startup,
Oh, good.
which was great because it kind of became this buffer for me in making the transition from a hobby blog into a business.
Yeah.
So I was running their social media and doing some trade show demos and store demos, and it allowed me to kind of see that side of the industry and
Great.
ultimately helped me determine that I did not want to sell a product and
Yeah.
that what I really loved was blogging. And it also freed up a lot of time. And I think that's a big thing, is that in order to get your blog to a level that, in order to be successful at it, you need the time to do that. And that's what I needed. So I took a risk and it paid off for me. So I'm quite fortunate and definitely am grateful for it every day.
Oh, that's exciting. So did you always have an interest in cooking? Is that something that you developed, over time?
Not so much cooking. Growing up, I loved to bake. It was
Yeah.
very indulgent.
Yeah.
I was never, I mean, I come from a Jewish family that food is like the center of our universe.
Yeah.
So it's just, food has always been a big part of my life, and great cooking has always been a part of my life. It's just something that everyone around me knows how to do.
Yeah.
And it's because we learn from our families. So it's something I've always been around, but I don't know that I necessarily took an interest in it. Growing up, I just loved food. And then when I went to university was when I started to start cooking for myself. And eventually I moved to New York. And if anyone has ever lived in Manhattan on a research assistant salary, they know that
Yeah.
it is very, very difficult to pay your rent, let alone feed yourself. So I kind of reached a point where I needed to learn how to not only like cook for myself to save money, but also cook on a budget. And that's when, my cooking was, that's when I really learned how to cook. And I figured if I was going to be cooking for myself, I might as well be cooking healthy food. So
That's interesting. Have you been watching The Chef's Table on?
yes. Oh my God. I love it. It's so good.
Yeah, the second one was with I can't even.
David Barber.
Yes, Dave. Yeah, and he talked about how great cuisine is always developed from like when a country goes through difficult times is when they've created these great cuisines. It sounds like that maybe was your personal story.
That's exactly what happened. And honestly, I would eat out like once a week, and going to eat at Blue Hill was like a once a year occasion.
So you've been there?
Yeah, so I've been to Blue Hill. It's so good.
Oh my gosh.
It's really, really delicious.
I mean, just looking at the food looked amazing.
yeah, he's unbelievably talented and such an inspiration to me and to, people who are in the food and wellness world who are
Yeah.
hoping in some small way to change the game. So
I have to ask, have you actually tried that butternut squash that he described?
no, I didn't try
I
it.
want to try that.
I know. It's so cute and little.
I know.
One day.
That's right. Yeah. So it's a great show. I'll put a link in the show notes page for everybody. But, just the food photography and the video is great in and of itself. But the stories that these chefs are talking about the food is just makes you fall in love with food all over again.
Exactly. And that's kind of how I felt. And especially being in New York, there's so much inspiration there. There's so many incredible restaurants. And I wanted to be able to experience them. And that meant that most of the time I had to be very budget conscious with what I ate for most of my meals. That way I could go out and feel like I could embrace some of these unbelievable chefs and restaurants that were popping up and continue to pop up all over the city.
Well, Davida, I am already loving this discussion because I love your passion for food blogging and passion for food and healthy living. All that stuff is great. One of the main reasons I wanted to have you on the show today was to talk about Snapchat because it's one of the newest and up and coming, fastest growing social media platforms out there. In fact, I just read before we started this interview that there are over 400 million snaps sent and received every day. So that's kind of an example of, how fast it's growing and how many people are using it. But I think it still seems like a mystery to a lot of food bloggers. So I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about how you use Snapchat.
Yeah, it's funny because I get a lot of questions about it from other bloggers.
I bet.
Yeah, it's popping up everywhere, and I think people are so confused how to use it. And I benefited from the fact that it's something that I use in my personal life, so it was a natural transition for me to start using it for the Healthy Maven.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing is people don't really understand the concept of it, and that things only last for 24 hours, or depending on how you use it, there's kind of two ways to use it. So you could, if you're sending it directly to people, then it would last for only 10 seconds and then it's gone. Or in the case of a blog or a business, what you're trying to do is increase that length as much as possible. So you'll do something like add it to your story. And when you add something to your story, it lasts for 24 hours. So people can only see it for those 24 hours from when you post it, and then it's gone. So the benefit there, and what I'm finding with my business, is that so much of social media has become so curated. It's just, everything is so beautiful and gorgeous. We're all over Instagram and Facebook and Pinterest. It's like everything feels like a dream.
Yes.
And that's nice, and it's really inspirational, but it isn't necessarily real.
Right.
And I think the way that I've used Snapchat is the same way that I use it as my personal account, which is, this is my life. This is what it looks like behind the scenes. And I think a lot of readers of blogs and people who follow various bloggers want to see that. On some level, they want to be inspired by a lot of the images that we're sharing across social media. But on another level, they want to feel like, there's someone you could hang out with, and that you're out there living the brand that you're preaching every day.
I see.
So
So if you're making those brownies, it's not about like putting the most beautiful pictures of brownies on your Snapchat. It's about maybe, showing them in real life.
Exactly. It's like, while the final product picture might be beautiful, it doesn't necessarily look that beautiful through the process of making it. And that's okay. And I think that's what cooking's about. It's not, kitchens get messy.
Yes.
You can spill, like, you mess up, like it happens. And I think on some level that's inspirational to a lot of readers who feel like, hey, I can't make it look that good. I'm just not going to make it at all. And it's
right.
like, just because I spent 20 minutes plating those brownies doesn't mean that you can't go make them and they taste equally as delicious.
I see. That's great.
Yeah.
So then are you actually just putting up photos or video of the food that you're eating or the food that you're preparing for your site?
I'm doing a bit of both. And I'm, I don't necessarily just use it for the food. Because okay. My life, while I do love food blogging and I love food, my life isn't, consumed by food at all times. So it's really an opportunity for me to kind of build my brand outside of food.
Oh, nice.
And for people to see what my life is like when I'm not in the kitchen. So while I definitely I tend to create videos while I'm making a recipe, so I'll actually show the step-by-step making of a recipe, which would be ideal if the post was already live, but the timing of that doesn't always work because, for me to Snapchat the process of making a recipe, then photograph it and get it up in 24 hours is very unlikely.
Right.
But it is a chance for people to kind of see what's coming. So they might see the process of me making a recipe, and then they see how easy it was to make, and I let them know, like, stay tuned, next week the recipe will be coming, and people kind of have the confidence that, like, if they watched me make it, they could probably make it too.
That's very cool.
Yeah, so I tend to do videos of the actual, like, making of a recipe. I'll sometimes just snap a picture of what I eat for lunch or dinner one day, or, I'm on my way to a bar workout, or I'm Skyping with a friend, or I'm hanging out on the couch watching Netflix with my boyfriend. Like, my life is very normal and real, and it's something that I want people to see.
Oh, that's cool. I have a theory that why Snapchat is perfect for food bloggers. Do you want to hear it?
I'd love to.
Okay, so we work. It's easy to think like, why would I prepare this video or this why would I put this up on Snapchat when it's just going to go away in a few seconds? But if you think about it, we prepare food and we put a lot of work into that food, and what happens? It just disappears.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah,
It's true. It's
yeah,
the exact same thing. Yeah, I totally agree. And I just think, the benefit for it only lasting 24 hours is that it doesn't have to be so perfect. And we get so wrapped up in this
yeah.
idea that everything we create and produce has to be so perfect. And I think,
Yes,
at least for me, it's like it doesn't live on. It doesn't have to be unbelievably beautiful and at a level at which everybody else is creating. So it's maybe for me, because it doesn't last so long, it just, at least I know in my case, I feel a lot more comfortable. Like, no one can really go back to that content and see it again. And
right.
maybe that's wrong, but it's sort of like, nah, I can just share those like real moments that maybe aren't so perfect, and that's okay.
Yeah. Do you feel like regular activity is a key? Like for example, do you have a goal to post something every day?
Yeah, I'm on Snapchat like all day.
Okay.
So,
Not
yeah.
every day, multiple times a day then.
Oh yeah, multiple times a day. And I think that's partially because I really love it. I love using it. It's a way that I feel like I can connect with my readers, um, like directly, and my engagement is proof of that because they're watching them right away,
Yeah.
which is a little bit different than the rest of social media, where there's so many algorithms playing into it, and like the majority of your content isn't actually seen by the majority of your followers. So it's like direct access to the people who read and support you, and I love that, and I want them to feel
Yes.
like they're a part of my life.
Yep. And we were all looking for more direct access to our readers, so that's great.
Yeah.
Now, I've used Snapchat mostly as a way to, chat with my daughter and a couple of really, really close friends. But I'm just curious about the difference between using that on a personal level and moving it over to your brand. And one of those questions is how do you tell who's actually following you? Do you know that you've got a certain number of people following you?
Yeah, so actually, I'm just going to grab my phone so I can walk you through how to check that.
Okay.
If you go to Snapchat,
Mm-hmm.
and you click on the little yellow, or I guess it's white when it's on the camera, but the little Snapchat icon in the top middle of the screen, you'll see the yellow picture pops up, which actually, if you snap a picture of that, that's how you can add someone on Snapchat, which is really cool. But right below that, you'll see added me. And if you click that, you'll see all the people who have added you. And while it doesn't give an exact number,
I see.
you can kind of see if you have people following you or not, which is sort of, when you're new at this, you might not have a ton of followers. So you might actually be able to count how many, but if you've been doing it for a little while, or you have a
Yeah.
reach already, you can actually see that you have quite a few followers.
And that leads me to another question. When you have somebody who's following you and you don't know who they are, do you follow them back?
I don't.
Okay.
I sort of view it in a similar way to, Facebook, where if like someone followed me on Facebook, I'm not necessarily going to go and like follow their personal profile.
Right.
Because I don't know if they're using it as a business or if they're using it for personal. And
Yes.
yeah, it's just, for me, I just feel more comfortable. Like,
Yeah, I agree. And you click on their name and that's how you see their profile. Is that correct?
there's no like profile that you
Okay.
can really see. It's a totally different platform in terms of social media from all of the others, and I think that's why it gets really confusing.
Yeah.
If you were to follow them back, then you would either get direct messages from them, direct snaps from them, or you would get like you would be able to see their stories.
I
Which
see. Okay.
if you held down their name,
Yeah.
then you would actually see, what's on their story for the next 24 hours.
I see. So that's why it's probably a good idea for you to, have a consistent story posted on Snapchat, because that when people are trying to check out whether they want to follow you, they can see what you're about.
Yeah, and also, I think a lot of bloggers don't realize that they have to be adding it to their stories in order to use it as a brand. Or
Ah,
what you could do is you could send direct messages to everyone who follows you, but that would mean actually following them.
I
Add
see.
it to your story. People who are following you, but you aren't necessarily following them, are able to see what you've added.
Okay. I think it's slowly but surely it's starting to make sense to me now. I kind of get that.
Yeah, it's a little bit confusing, and I think Snapchat is only just starting to be used at for brands.
Uh-huh.
Like they now have Discovery or Discover, and you can see like Cosmopolitan magazine has,
Yes, I've
the
seen
Food
that.
Network has. So those brands have it set up where you know, they don't necessarily have to have people following them in order to see that because they have a direct relationship with Snapchat.
Yeah.
But you can tell that Snapchat's now kind of moving in a direction where they're working with brands. So I think it's advantageous as a blogger to kind of get into it now because I think it's going to continue to evolve and
Yeah.
it's going to be made a lot easier for bloggers to use it, to reach their followers. Right now, it wasn't really developed to be used that way, so you sort of have to sneak around it by only adding things to your story, but
Yes.
eventually it will become easier.
Now you've had a brand reach out to you on Snapchat, is that correct?
Yeah, so I actually have a couple of brands who I'm working with now, who follow me on Snapchat. So sometimes they'll see, I'm
That's
cooking with their
great.
product, and it's something that I've added it to my media kit because I've had brands reach out and have interest in collaborating on Snapchat, which is funny because it only lasts 24 hours. But
Yeah.
again, it's this direct access to your readers in a way that most social media channels don't allow you. So I think it's definitely intriguing from the brand perspective. I
Yeah.
actually did what's called a Snapchat takeover, and it's similar to an Instagram takeover where you have access to that brand's account,
Yeah.
okay, and you can use it as you would your own. So that was pretty cool, and I
That
took over
is.
their account, and it was actually a really great way for me to tap into the followers that they have and the ones that could relate to. I did it in sort of a day in the life style post, so people could watch my day in the life
Yeah.
and what that included, and the people who were following them who saw that, who felt like they might be able to relate to my own life or wanted to continue to follow me could then go follow me on Snapchat. And it's a really great way to increase your followers on Snapchat. So
Yes.
it's something that I tell bloggers who are looking to grow their Snapchat to like start collaborating with each other.
Ah,
Start like, you know,
yes. It's
hey
almost like
Marley,
guest posting on Snapchat, huh?
exactly what it is. So I'd be like, hey Marley, want to take over my Snapchat for the day? And I'd give you the password to my Snapchat. You could share parts of your day and share um, your Snapchat handle throughout the day so that people could then go follow you and you get new followers that way. It's exactly like guest posting on blogs, but because Snapchat is so new, well, it's actually not that new, but it's so new for bloggers, and
Right.
also there's no like main like place you can go to find new followers. It really has to be through word of mouth or by sharing each
Yeah, see,
other.
that's the interesting thing is it doesn't feel like there's this place, how do people discover you? And so that's a great idea of how to make that happen.
Totally. And again, like it's a question that I get asked a lot about Snapchat. Like, how do I get new followers on Snapchat? And right now, what's really worked for me is sharing my Snapchat on other social channels. So
Oh,
sharing my
great.
handle, including it in blog posts, and telling people this is my handle on Snapchat. You can follow me this way. Sharing that image I talked about, where it's
Mm-hmm.
the yellow like image that you can take a picture of. If
Yeah.
you actually take a screenshot of that image and include it in a blog post or on Facebook or Instagram, people can just snap a picture of that and they've automatically added you. So just
How
sharing it.
cool. I
Yeah,
have
it's pretty
seen
cool.
more people putting their Snapchat profile on other social media sites like Facebook or things like that.
Yeah, it's definitely becoming really popular. And I think it's funny especially with the food blogging community, once one person starts doing something, you start to see like other people
Yes.
jumping on it really quickly. So I think it's like becoming a pretty hot trend right now.
It's like the tipping
So,
point, right?
yeah, so, exactly. So I'm starting to see it a lot and I love that. It's like I've kind of felt like this lone wolf out there.
Oh, I bet you're feeling less lonely if more people are
Yes,
coming
you feel
along.
less lonely on Snapchat now.
So that was my other question for you is if you're posting on Snapchat, can it be a video that you've repurposed or a photo that you've repurposed, or does it have to be something taken directly from your phone?
It has to be taken directly from your phone,
Okay.
which I think is part of the reason why it's considered
Yes.
more real and more behind the scenes, because Instagram now, like, which was used for a long time as that behind the scenes, is
Yes.
so curated, and there's just, most of the images are
Yes.
taken with an SLR and uploaded, or there's
Hmm.
been, there's so many different apps for adding filters or making this change or that change. And like with Snapchat, it's real time. Like it just happened right before you sent it. So I
Yeah,
think that's pretty cool.
there is a certain rawness to that. Feels kind of good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a couple of just like very practical and maybe possibly very stupid questions, but
No
do you
stupid.
do you use hashtags with Snapchat?
No.
No.
I mean, I'm the kind of person who may or may not occasionally speak in hashtags. So
Okay.
I sometimes will. What you can do is you can add text to the photos,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll occasionally put in like hashtag food blogger life or something like
I
that.
got
It's
you.
not. You can't find somebody by hashtags. You can't search by hashtags. So there really is. There's no benefit to it other than
Okay.
if you're like me and randomly speak hashtag.
Yeah, I see it. It allows a sort of kind of cryptic language to happen, and that's kind of fun. Yeah.
Exactly. You're limited in characters. It isn't exact characters, it's actually just the spacing.
Mm-hmm.
So, sometimes it's just easier to like put in a hashtag to describe something rather than like writing out a full sentence explaining it.
Yeah. So, okay. So my other kind of, process question is there this whole thing of commenting on others' Snapchats?
What you can respond to people's Snapchats if you want to.
Okay.
So what you do, there is a chat function. So you're only able to chat if it's between, I think if it's between two people who follow each other. Don't
I
quote me
see.
on that, but I'm pretty sure it's only between two people who follow each other. So if someone follows me back, they're able to, write a message back to me.
I see.
So you can use it for chatting as though you were texting someone.
Right.
It's not really its main function, but sometimes, like, at least when I use it for my personal account, I'll like take a picture with something that I think is funny for somebody else, and then they might respond with like their reaction to it in words, rather than like sending a picture back.
I see. Okay, I got it. Oh, that's really cool. And then is Snapchat available for both iPhone and Android?
I'm pretty sure it is. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you can use it on Android. I'm not sure about BlackBerry, but I also don't know anyone who uses a BlackBerry, so
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I think you can use it with a BlackBerry, but you can't use the story function. There's
I
something along those
see.
lines, so it's not like advantageous for a blogger who uses a BlackBerry. But
Okay.
I'm pretty sure you can use it for iPhone and Android.
Great. So, if someone is feeling a little bit overwhelmed with the idea of starting Snapchat, what advice would you recommend as, kind of your get your toe in the water kind of strategy?
Yeah, honestly, I would try just like using it as a personal account for a while and just
Okay.
get the hang of how it works. That for me, it was such an easy transition because my friends and I use Snapchat. So I'm sort of the generation where like, whatever the newest, latest app that's come out, like I'm just a part of that.
Yeah.
So if it's like really foreign to you, just like try using it, practicing as though it's a personal account. I wouldn't necessarily like tell all of your readers that you're using Snapchat now, unless you like know how to use it, because you might, suddenly send out a video that you don't want people to see, or just something that, not that there's no real inappropriate way to use it, because it's really
Well, I
just.
think there could be some inappropriate ways to use it, but nobody in this group would do that.
Trust me, there are very inappropriate ways to use it. But
Yeah. We don't have to worry about that, though.
yeah, assuming you're not the kind of person that's using it in that way, which I'm going to guess most food bloggers are not,
Yes, exactly.
then you can't really go wrong. But
Right.
for me, I just use it to capture all aspects of my life, and it's not necessarily interesting to everyone, and I know that, but like, you can skip over it if you want to. You don't have to watch it. That's just sort of how I see it.
What about
But
people who might say, oh, you should at least just secure your domain name profile?
yeah, we don't know where Snapchat's going to go.
Right.
Like, I think when Instagram started, like we had no idea Instagram was going to become what it's become.
Yes.
So yeah, I definitely think it's worthwhile to just at least get your domain name for if it, if it becomes, I find it very user friendly, but a lot of people don't. So if it suddenly becomes more user friendly from the blogger perspective, then it's worthwhile to have the domain if you do decide that you want to start using it.
Well, and I think everybody should realize that I don't know, nothing is very user friendly at the beginning. Twitter had to have, there's books written on how to use that, and everything, Instagram even I think has some, there's some best practices. I just think everything requires a little bit of practice to get used to it.
Yeah, definitely. I just think it's worthwhile to just start
Yeah.
using it. And
Yeah.
even if, you don't have to have, you may need like at least one follower, but like ask your husband or your boyfriend,
Yeah.
best friend to follow you on Snapchat and just start sending them snaps and like,
Right.
and, take it from there. Just get a hang of how to take a video versus taking a picture, how to add text. And there's some very, very basic filters on there. It's just, you just swipe to the left in order to put a filter on. Yeah, just get the hang of using those things and then, just start telling your followers on various social channels and on your blog to follow you. And by then you should have the hang of how to use it.
So everybody should probably know by now that one of my favorite authors is Julia Cameron. She has this whole series of books called The Artist Way, and one of her books is called, I think, The Right to Write, and she talks in there about how important it is to let yourself write badly in order to become a better writer. And I think what you're saying is give yourself permission on Snapchat to, just put things out there, and that'll help you grow and be better at it eventually.
Totally. And I also think that there's no like good or right way to use it.
Yeah.
It's just real. And like
Yeah.
just share those little moments that, maybe they're boring, maybe they're not boring, maybe they're really cool, maybe they're not really cool. It doesn't really matter. Like that's the point of Snapchat.
Right.
It's real. It's real life. It's, if the event happened seconds before it was sent. And I think that that's really cool.
I love it.
And that's how it's supposed to be used. So you don't necessarily need to like have like a whole scene set up that's like absolutely perfect and then you share it. It's just, like I was in a bookstore the other day and I saw Kris Jenner from the Kardashians has a cookbook. So I snapped a picture of it and asked if I should buy it. And it's like, it's those little moments that like I may have just admitted to all my Snapchat followers that I'm a huge Kardashian fan, but that's okay.
Right.
That's just who I am.
Yeah, exactly. Just being yourself.
Exactly.
I love it. Okay, so I'll put your Snapchat profile on the show notes page along with mine, and so people can at least have somebody to follow on Snapchat. And yeah,
follow me and
leave your profile in the comment section.
Yes,
and
you totally should, and we should all start following each other.
Absolutely, I love it.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for this advice on Snapchat. Now I kind of want to move over to a little bit about you and your site. I fell in love with your About page because there's this line I want to read for everybody that says, here's how I'm going to quote. I never thought one day I'd be fortunate enough to call myself an entrepreneur, a self-published author, or even my own boss. I just love that line. It's like such a dream come true. It sounds like the fact that you started your blog and now you've told us that 8 months later you quit your job. So what helped you know that you could do this, that, you could take this leap and become your own boss?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was like a little bit of desperation in that. Like honestly, I just was really not happy with how I was spending my days and just found so much inspiration and passion in blogging and was like, I like, if not now, when? That was sort of my motto.
Yeah.
I like, if I'm not going to do this now, I'm never going to do it. So I took that leap of faith, and I mean, it didn't come without a cost, and I'm fortunate that like I've had some amazingly supportive people in my life, and that circumstances just like didn't have a family to support. I really was only accountable to myself. So to quit my job and, take the income hit, it was a risk that I was willing to take because it didn't fall on anybody else for me to take that. And then like, the blogging community has been unbelievably supportive and helpful.
Yeah, that's great. What words would you use to encourage others?
I think you have to just try something new every day and be consistently trying to get better. Just push yourself beyond your limits. really research a lot, make Google your best friend. Like I tell people that like in another life I would be an amazing like private detective because I can like find information on anything.
Yeah.
It's really my like one super talent. If I need to find like background information or resources, like I know how to find it. And that's like I think that's a huge skill that a lot of like successful bloggers have is that they've been able, they don't necessarily have all the answers. They don't wake up one day and know how to do something, but they know how to find the answers. So I would tell bloggers like, you know, just be consistently talking with people, collaborating with people, you know, join share groups and Google everything you could possibly imagine. Like if someone ever saw my Google search history, I would be mortified. I Google everything. So it's like, you just have to be willing to like admit when like you have more to learn and that's okay and make it a priority to learn something new every single day.
Well, it sounds to me like you might even could use Google to better understand your audience, because if you're writing a topic on something that, you know, people are interested in, Google search can help you refine that sometimes.
Oh, completely. I mean, I am a total Google keyword planner geek. Like I could spend hours playing on Google keyword planner. And like that for me is huge for, you know, I have a sense of what my audience might like, but I might not.
Yeah.
You know, I might need to refine it slightly or come up with a better subject line that would better resonate with my audience. So yeah, like Google everything. Pretty much.
It sounds like I might have to have you back on the show to talk about Google, how you're using Google Keyword Planner.
Yeah, no, I love Google Keyword Planner, and yeah, it's hugely important, I think, for bloggers to have a good understanding of how it works.
Well, Davida, I've had really a great time talking with you, but we're coming towards the end of the interview, and I want to ask you, what's coming up next for you? Anything you can share?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on. I don't know about next, but there's like a lot happening right now, which is pretty cool.
Let's talk about it then. I want to hear.
Yeah, so I launched a new website about a month ago with another blogger. Her name's Lee, and she runs the blog Fit Foodie Finds. And it's called thebloggerproject.com. And it's a place where we're helping bloggers grow their blogs and hopefully make the transition to run them as a business or just improve them in whatever way they want to improve them. So Lee and I have both been blogging, Lee for much longer than I have, but we both have had sort of different experiences with the blogging world and get asked a lot of questions about blogging. So this is kind of our way to give back to the community and share, you know, a lot of the information that we've accumulated over time. So like I wrote a very basic post on how to use Google Keyword Planner for your blog, or just some of the things that we've acquired over time and wanted to share with the community. So
that's excellent. So it's like a free blog that people can go and read and learn about all this?
Yeah. So it's all, I mean, the content we're producing is all free. It's geared towards new bloggers, but there's some stuff out there for more advanced bloggers. And we're also selling some digital products because we found that in our own blogging experience, like what's really helped us to take our blogs to the next level is things like having a media kit or a pricing guide or invoices, those like documents that are, you know, kind of make your business more professional and make it easier to work with brands. So what a lot of bloggers struggle with is actually designing those. Right. So we're selling templates on there that can easily be downloaded and customized to match your brand. So while all the content is free, we are selling some digital products on there that can be super helpful for bloggers who maybe don't want to like spend the next 3 days trying to design a media kit. They can do it in a half an hour. So it's pretty cool.
That's great. I love that because, you know, just as you were saying how you love to use Google to research things. I mean, I find myself in the same boat too, but sometimes I just want to go, somebody just tell me how to do this because I don't want to spend all day researching this one thing.
Exactly. Yeah. Like we definitely don't know everything and we're constantly learning new things. And what we hope to build is a community where everyone is sharing with each other. So you know, we'll see where it goes, but right now we're really excited about the launch and how it's doing.
That's great. I can't wait to check it out. I'll leave a link in the show notes page so everybody else can too.
Yeah, it's been about a year in the making, so it was really cool to finally get to a point where we could start telling people about it because it was like this big secret we had for about a year. So
Oh man, I hate sitting on a secret.
I know it was tough. It was really tough.
Yes. But then when you tell it, it's just great.
Yes,
Yeah.
totally.
So anything else that you've got in the works?
Um, for the Healthy Maven, just kind of exploring new content. I'm hoping. So actually, what's part of the Blogger project is that we run another blog as its own entity, but we share the analytics and the income and expenses and all of the behind the scenes of that blog over on the Blogger project in what we call project reports. So the actual project of the Blogger project is a website or a blog called sheuncovered.com.
Oh, right.
So it sounds really tricky and confusing, but it really isn't that hard. It's just we run this blog. It's a women's lifestyle blog, and we share, we cover a lot of topics on it. And then we run that as its own blog, but we're also reporting about it over on the Blogger project.
I see. So She Uncovered is a little bit like your case project or, your
Exactly.
case study. That's what it is.
It's our case study.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's a place for us to kind of share content and other aspects of our life that we wanted to share, but might be slightly outside the realm of our food blogs.
Yeah.
But it's also an opportunity for us to show people what it's like from behind the scenes of growing a blog. So we've documented everything from the day we bought the domain to now. So everything from our growth in our social channels to strategies that are working on Pinterest or how much we paid a designer and that kind of stuff. It's all, we're laying it all out there.
That's
so it's
great. That sounds so interesting. I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So we have those two, and then I'm running the Healthy Maven full time. So in terms of what's coming up, hopefully not anything.
Yeah, your bandwidth is high right now.
Yeah. Things are nuts right now, but in the best way.
That's good because you're doing a lot of things you love.
Yes, I am. I feel very, very fulfilled, which is not at all how I was feeling 2 years ago while I was working this other job. So life is weird and funny like that, but it seems to work out for the best most of the time.
Excellent. Okay, so a few quick and fun questions here at the end of the interview. What's one food item you can't live without?
Wine.
Okay.
I guess that's a drink, but
it's okay. It works.
Yeah.
Red, white. What's your favorite?
Red, definitely. A good glass of a California Cab or a Malbec. A good glass of red wine that just fills my soul.
That's great. Do you also cook with wine too?
I do, yeah. There doesn't tend to be a lot of leftover wine sitting around to cook with, but the occasional bottle has a cup left or something, and I'll throw it into soup or stew.
It adds so much flavor, doesn't it?
Oh, it's amazing. It's so good.
Okay, great. So what's the favorite app on your phone?
I think I have to say Snapchat.
Yeah, oh, that's true. You're kind of required at this point.
Yeah, no, but I really do love Snapchat. I can find myself a little overwhelmed and frustrated with some of the other social channels sometimes. With Snapchat, it's fun. It's so in the moment, and I love that I get to use it in that way.
Maybe it's like a quick break too in your day, right? So you're busy doing all these things and you take a quick moment to do something you enjoy. Yeah,
and it's totally appropriate to send way too many selfies, which I've learned is not the best way to grow your Instagram account. So
yes.
So it's I can post all the selfies on Snapchat and I'm good to go.
I got you. So selfies on Instagram, not so good, but it's great on Snapchat.
At least that's what I'm telling myself.
Okay. Works for me too. Okay. Do you have, I can't imagine that you do, but do you have any time for TV? And if so, what's your favorite show?
Oh, I have all the time for TV.
You make time for it, right?
Oh, I make time for it. My favorite show is Game of Thrones, without a doubt. Sunday night, Game of Thrones, never miss that. But I considering I really have no time, it's really impressive how much reality TV I find myself watching. So I'm admitting it. I'm putting it out there. I watch a lot of reality TV.
But you're not going to say which one, huh?
Oh, I watch it all.
Okay.
I really do. I watch it all, but I do have a deep love for the Kardashians.
That's not just something that you say on Snapchat then.
No, it's not. It's very real. It's the
That's
problem.
great. Well, Davida, how can people find you online?
Sometimes I feel like I'm everywhere, but any social channels, it's The Healthy Maven or thehealthymaven.com. And then, the Blogger Project or She Uncovered and all of those social channels. So I really am everywhere. But probably Instagram or Snapchat are a great place to really connect with me on a more personal level.
And on Snapchat, it's The Healthy Maven.
It's The Healthy Maven. Yeah.
Okay, great. Davida, thanks so much for taking the time to talk with me today. I really enjoyed it.
It was so great speaking with you. Thank you for having me.
Thanks to Davida Kugelmass for being my guest on today's episode of the Chopped Podcast. If you were busy around the house and couldn't write down something important, don't worry, we took the notes for you. Just head on over to choppedcon.com where I put up links for each show, including the stuff we talked about today and more information about our guests. If you like the Chopped Podcast, it would mean the world to me if you'd leave a review on iTunes. It really helps the show so much. Today's show was sponsored by Best Food Facts. Head over to bestfoodfacts.org for the latest on all things food. You inspire me so much, and I hope today's show was helpful and inspirational to you as well. Thanks for listening and have a great week.